since it's 6 o'clock. Okay, since it's 6 o'clock, we're going to go ahead and get started. We have a full plate today of great stuff to talk about. So
Yeah, I gotta see if I can switch it. Okay.
welcome to all of our communities for our third and last session of Reimagining Rural for
I got it.
2026.
You got it.
You got it?
Yeah, I
We
think.
did call it the final countdown to the grant applications coming open. So we're excited to have you with us again tonight. So please remember, to our community coordinators and to everybody, please sign in and share your email address if you have one. This is super important because we will follow up with a post-event survey/evaluation, and we will send them out individually to all of the participants. And we need to collect that data or collect information back from you so that we can then report impacts and things to Montana Community Foundation and the Wells Fargo Foundation. So the more data that we can collect from you all, the better our chances are in getting funding again, which then likewise means there's more opportunity for you all as communities to receive grant funds as well. So really important that you sign in, and then when you get that link, please do the survey. Okay, so once again, we have 20 communities joining us across the state tonight. Super excited. It's been a lot of fun to learn about your communities and what's happening, and to all join in and hear the speakers and the success stories. So it's just great to connect across the state and see what our small towns are doing. Okay, so once again, just as a reminder, this is not a comprehensive planning program. Reimagining Rural is all about building local capacity. And we do that by expanding local partnerships, regional partnerships, statewide partnerships, increasing that awareness, your awareness about and knowledge about resources that are available to you and your communities. And then also trying to flip that narrative and inspire our small towns to dream big and think differently about their communities. And we really focus in on our individual capital, social capital, that's relationship building, and cultural capital. So that's like what you value as your community and the vibe that your town has and how it presents itself. So here's the agenda for tonight. So it's very simple. We have this brief introduction going on, and then we're going to tune in to the ladies from Save Your Town who are with us tonight. Super excited about this. Please remember, this is going to be an interactive session. So they're gonna give it to us, and then they're gonna pause and they're gonna let your towns talk. So remember that. Be ready. And then you will have that 50 minutes, an expanded time for your communities to have conversations about what you've learned through this experience and what you want to put forward for your grant application for the seed grant. And then potentially what are the next steps of moving forward, and maybe those next step grant that's going to come available in July as well. Then we're going to come back at 7:50, because at 7:50, we're going to hear from Cheyenne Wallace, our partner at MCF, and she's going to give us the lowdown on the grants. So everybody's going to want to tune back in and find out all the details for the grants. So make sure you come back. All right, so with that, we are going to turn it over to Becky and Deb from Save Your Town. We're going to jump right in because they are fantastic. We love them. We love having them. They get rural. And so we are just very thankful to have them to be able to turn over the reins and let them do their thing. So super excited to have them here with us. I'm going to stop sharing so they can take over and do their thing. Oops. Okay, hang on a second. All right, there we go.
Ready?
We're ready.
Get set. Go.
Go.
All right. Hi, I am Becky McCrae. I am the part of SaveYour.Town that is based in Oklahoma. And Deb is our person, Deb Brown, she's in Mississippi, and originally from Iowa. And we have been doing SaveYour.Town for 10 years together now. Plus, we have years and years of experience, if that counts for anything, in chambers and municipalities, in community organizations in our own communities, and like lots of other things. Like we've done a lot of things. I think Deb uses the term varied experience. We have a very varied experience. So both of us have lived and worked in towns that were just a few thousand or under 10,000, but we've also both lived in communities under 100. So while we talk about rural, we also get rural. Now, we created the idea friendly method originally because we were frustrated because of trying to make things happen in our own towns, just in the old way, like the committees and the permissions and trying to get a new idea past the old guard. So that's where the idea friendly method came from. And Deb's going to give us some success stories and just a little more introduction to idea friendly. As soon as she unmutes.
Thank you, Becky. You know, we heard from a couple of people in Montana that have used the idea-friendly method in their town. Glendive, who's online, Jamie Shanks wrote us and said, we recently formed a group after Reimagine Rural sessions, a very loose group that is more about action versus meetings. We call ourselves the Vigilantes. Yes, based on vigilantes, but they're planning new ideas, beautification, actual trees, and of course, plants. She went on to say, we may do stuff at 2 a.m. to surprise people the next morning. We're making beautification fun and visible. Stephanie Ray over in Stillwater County, Columbus, Montana, said, the idea-friendly method helped our small team remove the barriers that events require. You know, committees, multiple meetings, multiple levels of decisions. We took our idea, divided up a handful of startup tasks, and hit go. When we roundtabled the results, we were all shocked that 75% of the event was done. And what remained was really manageable. Our team was also pleasantly surprised at how many people popped out of the woodwork to help once they saw the momentum of the event. I'll continue to use the idea-friendly method more and more with the hope it carries forward to others. We think you'll enjoy tonight. Becky, tell them what the idea-friendly method is.
What the heck is this idea-friendly method? How does this work? Okay, well, the idea-friendly method is what we use to help you make your idea happen. So you start with your idea for your community, whatever that may be. That is the thing that you feel is going to improve quality of life, add up to your social capitals then. And I have to say that we can just quickly sketch that with like the vigilantes that like, so, you know, the goal might have been a beautiful community, but in a fun way. And then you use that goal to gather your crowd. Hey, you want to do some fun beautification stuff? We're going to go do a thing. You turn your crowd into a powerful network by building connections. That's where you start asking those questions. Where can you find things? And then you and your newly powerful network accomplish that goal by lots of you taking small steps. So that's all the parts. Gather your crowd, build connections, take small steps. So if you if this is new to you, just like shoot a picture with your phone, that's okay. And we can also just make this slide available. That's about it for the text slides. So there's not going to be not a lot of boring stuff here. But let's look at the vigilante story and like really break it down into how it fits into the idea friendly method. So gathering your crowd, that's where they had this very loose group. So they knew what it was focused on, like beautification, doing things together, but fun, not meetings. So the building connections, this is where they talked to each other and they talked to their networks. Hey, who has the resources we need? Who do we know that can help us with some bedding plants for this? Who's got tools? Who's got, you know, where can we get gloves for people who didn't remember to bring their gloves? Who are some other friends who can help? And when you take small steps, that's where you're planting ideas and planting new ideas. And now, obviously, not everyone's going to be motivated enough to come out at the 2 a.m. thing, but those early, you know, ones that happen maybe during the day are activities where people can be drawn in. So they're having fun and making the town look great. And what I want you to notice is what is not here. They didn't start by going, let's form some committees. And then we need a subcommittee for like each planting area in town. And then we're going to need to like assign and do reports and like have officers. No, that's not in there. They didn't start looking for resources the way a lot of times we start by presenting to the city council and trying to get them to approve and give us some resources. That's like the hardest way to get resources. Instead, they started by connecting with each other. And then taking small steps in the old way might have been like, let's write that comprehensive beautification plan, and then we can raise money using that to like, and we still haven't planted anything. So instead of doing it that way, we're doing it the idea friendly way. Take the action first, take really small steps, connect people to each other, let people be enticed rather than trying to convince anyone. Now, according to Iowa State University's Small Towns Project, there is a measurable difference in doing it this way. This is open leadership, being open to new ideas, and this leads to more prosperous communities. So I want to give you just like 1 minute without like going to discussion. What I would like for you to do is like make a note of like, how could your project or your idea break down into those 3 parts? So just take them. I'm going to give you like 1 minute to do that now.
And this is normally where I do the Jeopardy song, but I'm not going to. Okay, Becky. Everybody, we've got some of your ideas and we're going to walk you through them. Now, we know we're not going to understand exactly what you were thinking of because we have limited context. We're not there with you. And that's okay because you're living this every day. You know things we don't. The best ideas will come from mixing what we suggest with what you know about your community. The question now is, what if you don't have an idea or you have several ideas? That's great. For the several ideas, run a tiny test on each of them or pick one of them and do a tiny test. And if you don't have an idea, listen, we'll give you some along the way. Okay. Now, the community, there was one community that is considering a wayfinding and mural project. They want to improve signage and create a more welcoming environment for visitors passing through the area. So how did they gather their crowd? Well, first of all, who cares about this idea? I would think local artists, businesses in town, chamber members. Now, the next thing is, well, who's going to have resources to help with wayfinding? And I'm going to share a story with you. In Akron, Iowa, there was a group of retired farmers that all had woodworking equipment, and they moved it into the basement of an old building, an old hospital, I believe it was. And they were trying to figure out how they could use this equipment until somebody had the idea. Let's call the shop teacher. Maybe some of the students want to know how to use this equipment. And that's what they did. And now they work with the students, but they also work with people in town too. They show them how to use the tools. So you can go with your idea, try something out before you go buy expensive tools of your own, or you can just keep going back there. And what these old geezers, they named it, not me, what they did is they built the welcome signs at the edge of town, 2 of them, with their woodworking equipment. So it's also a way for them to be involved in this project. And then take small steps. Well, how can we start right now and give a way for people to be involved? And Becky has shared a story from Akron, the sandwich board, just a temporary sign. They wanted to test out if that location was a good spot to put up that kind of sign. Turns out it was, because it's Main Street. Everybody drives down it. It's not a permanent sign, and it is flexible, and people change the notices on it all the time. All right, that's the 3 steps for wayfinding signs. Becky?
Okay, Deb said I get to do the pickleball courts. So you know who you are, who's doing the pickleball courts. So this one is, there's a space located that's owned by a local church. There used to be tennis courts and they want to refinish the courts, purchase the nets, purchase equipment, and make it available to anyone in the community. And so you want to start, our suggestion would be like, gather your crowd and build connections. And you could do this by like, so you have people who are interested in pickleball, start now, hold meetups, have play days, start your pickleball club so that people have something that they can be attracted to even before the courts are ready. And if you can't do play days like on the existing courts, which I can completely understand, we have 2 suggestions for small steps that will move you towards having the pickleball courts. And the first one is, can we take those existing courts, even if they're in kind of rough shape, can we get out there and like duct tape the new lines so that it is lined appropriately for pickleball and just sort of pretend like it's a good enough pickleball court? And then the other thing I thought of is back a million years ago when I was when I took tennis lessons, I mean, seriously, I was like 14. And the tennis courts used to have a board that had the net painted on it. So like one person could stand there and practice against the plywood pretend net. Could you do something like that so that one person could like demonstrate how pickleball works, or 2 people? And just so people would see you and be like, what the heck are you doing? And so that level of like, how can we make something that people are going to be able to look at and engage with, even if it's not the final finished thing for pickleball? So Deb, you're up next.
I'm laughing about the board net. So the next community is actually considering several art installation options. They talked about an interactive mural where community members can actually paint individual tiles to create this collective work, or a metal sculpture to be erected on Main Street. So let's begin with some small steps. They could visit other towns to see their art or check out Pinterest for inspiration. They could make, display, and sell some temporary art, like sheet murals. They could let the kids take chalk and paint on a blank wall. They can try a 4x4 painting on plywood. That actually, these let you test different designs too, and get input from your community. And these activities are going to help gather your crowd. We love having more people be involved. Now, how can you build connections to get the resources you need? Well, I always say hit up the former residents in your school alumni list, because they can often contribute to supplies. Your local businesses might know where to get those same supplies. And yes, you should start local. In Webster City, Iowa, the mayor used a trash off recycling day to collect still usable paint, and they use it to paint the streets every year for an art fundraiser. So they got old paint that was still usable from trash, from recycling, and you can't do that in many places. Win-win.
Okay, you're done? Deb?
I'm done. Ready for
Okay.
you.
All right. So the next one is, this one has got a lot of parts to it, and it's a community center cleanup. And so there's an overgrown area around the community center. There's also this, they want to make that into like a garden and sitting area. So it's an attractive place to hang out near the community center instead of like a not so attractive place. And then if they could get some extended funding, they're thinking about internet connectivity and Wi-Fi. So if you're thinking about like, who could we suck in on this project? Who are we going to gather our crowd? Well, who uses the building now, or who used to? Who's doing activities in other spaces that might also be interested in? So we're looking for who might be excited about the cleanup. And then again, we're looking for people who can donate stuff, people who have flowers, or somebody that's got other things they can donate. And then in taking small steps, now here's an idea that every single town can steal. Ready? Your town can steal this. Create the honey-do list so people can help out. This is like magic for beautification projects. Instead of, you've got a to-do list of all the stuff you know has to happen at the site, and you're not telling anybody. And so nobody can jump in and help. But if you turn that into the honey-do list and make it public, other people can jump in and help. So, and then thinking ahead to the Wi-Fi question of like, how could we small step Wi-Fi or run a test? And then, so to do that, we could do like a portable hotspot or somebody's phone that does a hotspot and have a specific reason that we're all there using the Wi-Fi together again, so people notice and get enticed. And I think it was this town also, but I could be confusing two towns because like I don't know all your towns that well. But one of the towns mentioned that their geography really makes them feel alone, like they're just not close to a lot of other. I mean, I get it, definitely not close. I'm in Western Oklahoma. We're also not close. Y'all are on a whole nother level of not close. But I was thinking about how could you find some small steps to feel less isolated in your community so that you could build some connections. And I thought about like one of those small steps might be to like choose your own sister city from the Reimagining Rural towns, right? Like there's all the towns that are participating. Maybe there's a town here that you feel a connection with, or that you've gotten to know somebody from that town because of these sessions. Like reach out to them and just be informal sister cities so you can feel more connected and less alone. Now, before we go on, is it Hav? Did I say it right? Or is it Haver? Or like Haver? Okay, Haver uses the ice dome in the off season for pickleball courts. So there's an idea for pickleball court town. Wanted to throw that one out loud. And then Deb, I think it's your turn again.
It is my turn. And the next one's about a community museum in an old empty building. Now, past efforts, people have come in waves. They were able to be involved for a while and then they couldn't anymore. I think people retire or move or whatever they do. This group wants to kick off a renewed, focused approach. So what can they do? Well, take small steps. What's one room or one outdoor display that you could open to the public for 2 hours on a Saturday? And as long as it's open, have a picnic. Let people see the progress. Build current community connections to this project. And you want to create some reasons for new people to get involved. This is one of my favorites. Let students redecorate or stage a window. This gets them involved, but there's one thing you have to do. You have to let them do their idea. Don't tell them what to do. Now, the activities to help gather your crowd and draw more people. Well, once you start doing things, people come to you and they bring you more resources. It's always a winner. Let's see. Becky. Oh, fun. She gets a fun one. You're next.
I know. I get all the fun ones because I get to pick.
And I did that. Yeah.
It's your own fault. It's your own fault. All right. So this is downtown beautification and heritage projects. This was an interesting one because there's like several pieces. When you ask rural people, what do you want to fix? They're like, we have a list of like what we want to work on. So, oh wait, before we do, let's stop. Lincoln Jane Woolery says, I've heard it also called a generosity list instead of the honey-do list. Oh. But that was in relation to caregiving. So have a list. So when someone says, what do you need? Or how can I help? You have something you can hand them. Like, here's the list, ways you can help. And allowing generosity and being generous are great attributes.
Indeed.
So that is like, this is a really good point. Like we talk about, there was a town where the church does a bereavement dinner for families after funerals. And so a young woman went and volunteered and she got yelled at for cutting the pickles wrong, which is absolutely not the point of a bereavement dinner, because the point of a bereavement dinner has nothing to do with the pickles. And it has everything to do with a family that is in need and letting the church family reach out to them and be generous to them. And that family is giving the church the gift of accepting their generosity so that the people who gave can feel involved and feel good and feel part of community. And so that relates to exactly what Jane was saying here, which is this is allowing generosity and being generous. These are attributes that build a stronger community. So by having a honey-do list for your community project, by letting anyone go, Oh, you just need some weed eating? I'll be right over. Right? Like, oh, you want some power washing? I love using my power washer. I'll be out on Saturday. Then you're letting them feel like they're involved and they're a part of the community. So it's like redefining their identity as someone who gets involved in projects and makes them more likely to do it again in the future. So that comment was too good for me to pass up. So, okay, so I'm supposed to be talking about downtown beautification and heritage projects. However, throw more smart stuff in the chat so that we can go, yeah, that's right. And also, when you have questions, then you can also throw those in the chat, or we're going to, I think we'll have some time here, before, even after we go through all the list. Okay, so this is a downtown project that had like lots of parts. And one of the parts, which was like hanging baskets, they want to have hanging baskets. So they're looking to like get the equipment to like be able to water them. How do we divide up and make sure that people will be we'll have enough people who can come and water the baskets? How can we put plaques on the historical buildings? And while we're at it, how can we fix up the log cabin and preserve it? So that's like a lot. And, you know, I'm going to skip into taking small steps, because a lot of times when you're taking the small steps, you're letting people be called to you. So you could adopt a basket to solve that labor issue, so that instead of like trying to find the crews, then like maybe individuals can adopt those baskets. So it's not like one group has to go around and do all the watering. Somebody, if it's near a building that someone's using, can they adopt it? Another thing you can do is not with flowers. Maybe at first, like while you're getting people excited about this, you may not want to start with flowers, because if they miss a watering day, then the flowers look really sad. And it's a very sad thing to watch the flowers die after you've gotten them put in. And so can you do an evergreen kind of thing? Can you do some green boughs or something that's going to be evergreen and then will last for maybe months until you change it out? Or could it be pine cones? Okay, nobody has to water the pine cones. They're going to be fine. Is there something that you can do that, I mean, even painted rocks in a basket looks better than the dead flowers. So maybe you can use one of these long-term displays that's good for several months, instead of, man, somebody's got to get out there and water. I mean, for us in the summer, it's like somebody better water twice a day or our plants are going to be dead. So think of ways that you can make the size of this step more manageable. So that's part of taking small steps. And this is another place where a honey-do list could come in really helpful. And then in terms of like the historical plaques, I wondered, there was a comment in the description of like, maybe building owners may not want us putting plaques on their building because they're not sure yet that all the building owners will say yes, which is, I can understand that. So could you test that buy-in by like either making a mock-up of the plaque and asking them to hang it in their window, or even just like historical photos or historical posters? If they say yes to historical poster in the window, they are so much more likely to say yes to the plaque on down the road. So give them small steps so they can build up to the idea of, okay, yeah, go ahead. I'm proud now of my building. Let's affix a plaque to it. So don't start with the hardest ask, start with the easiest ask. Let us put these pictures up just for a little bit. And if they don't say yes to the historical pictures, and you can, okay, anybody that's trying to do art or work with somebody with an empty building, this is one of the tricks we use often, and it's not really a trick, it's kind of a trick, is children's art. It is so hard to tell people no when you show up with the children's art and say, can we put the children's art in your window? And so then we have, once they say yes to children's art, it's easier to get them to say yes to another piece. So there's some suggestions on ways to get that kind of connection going by taking the small steps that draw the people in. And that log cabin, again, the honey-do list, like let people bring themselves in. So Deb, you want to take the film footage one?
I do, but I have to share a quick story. Down here in Mardi Gras land, there's a small town not far from me that puts beads. Everybody just puts beads on the chain link fences around town. It's the coolest thing for a couple of months. So you can walk down, take your nice little walk, and there's beads everywhere. Really makes you feel part of the community. That's awesome. So the next one. There was a documentary created by a county conservation district, and what they explored the county's local history And apparently they took a ton of footage. And of course, they only used a small fraction of it. Well, this group would like to take that footage and make 50 to 75 short videos under some kind of common theme or divided up by communities. It can be all figured out, right? So what in the world do they do there? Well, this one's fun. Involve your students, release all the footage, and just invite people to do TikTok style remixes to build support. Now, they don't have to do it on TikTok. It can be on any social media platform or on YouTube, and they can share it with whoever. It will get the entire community involved. It's really pretty cool. I like that idea, and I want to see all those videos too. At some point, as you build up to doing all of this, it'll all work out, but you got to get started and get people interested, and releasing the footage will help you do that.
Yeah, young people have great video mixing skills because they're video native. So tap that and let them get their hands on some of that footage. Now, you don't have to like release all of it. Like just take a small step and just see how could you involve more people in that than just the specific set idea you have of 50 to 75 short videos. How else could this become something that's bigger and connects with more people?
Yeah,
and then if you have like other related footage you've been sitting on that's related to your community, could you release that too? And they can mix them together. Like you'll be astonished at what people will do with your video.
Yeah, when we were saving our movie theater, Becky, we went to the students and said, can you make us some trailers about donating to save the theater? We didn't know how to do it. They did a fabulous job. And those things got shared everywhere. They had a great time. And we were able to do other work and have more fun doing other things. Get your kids involved.
Okay, so the bleacher.
I interrupted you, sorry.
I put at the top of our document where Deb and I are writing notes to each other that I reserve the right to interrupt her, but I didn't say she could interrupt me. So now you know how we work. Okay, so this next one, and we're just about to get to the end of these, so throw your questions in here or suggestions because y'all have been real smart in the chat. This one is a little tougher because it's about replacing the aging bleachers in the high school. There's not really like a small step you can take intermediate. You can't duct tape your way to the better bleachers. It's not going to work. That's one of my favorite answers is duct tape. And then also a shade structure, but we do have some suggestions. And one is if you're having trouble getting people to either, they remember the bleachers from 30 years ago when they were last in the building, or they haven't had to sit on them for a while. Maybe a meetup where we're actually sitting on those bleachers to talk about the options instead of sitting in a meeting room to discuss this as a kind of abstract concept. Let's go sit on those bleachers and talk about what we can do. And that may help kind of gather your crowd and build some connections to the resources that you're needing to look for. And then one of the other pieces to this project was a shade cloth. I wanted a shade structure, like a structure for shade, but maybe a piece of temporary shade cloth and then a meetup under that to talk about, hey, look how great this is for now. Let's use this as a fundraising resource and a friend raising resource to get people involved. And put out that honey-do list of like, hey, we're gonna like try to build a shelter, so we're gonna need help with that. So we didn't have a ton of suggestions on this one, but do make sure that people have to go sit their own posteriors on those bleachers and experience them firsthand how they are right now before they start talking about whether they're going to support it or not.
Yeah, and have them sit there for a while. We all know how hard bleachers are. So next up, one community wanted to do some training on customer service, along with training for businesses on things like marketing and how to be online and use it, maybe create new signage and hold consistent business hours. Well, you're going to pull together your retail and entertainment businesses. Start there. That's a great way to gather your crowd. But what stores could work together to make a small group? And I'm going to tell another story. Webster City again had 3 small business owners who got together after hours and they helped each other out. Now, 2 of the businesses had been around for a long time And the third one was new, was just opening a new business, really new at it. So they went after hours. There was wine involved. The two new businesses shared things like, how do we do marketing? How do we order product? How do we rotate stock? They went in the back room and got to see the entire business. And of course, they talked about how they deal with customers. As you can imagine, there are some shared customers. What was great for the new business owner, other than learning all of this, she actually got answers to the questions she needed answers to right then. She didn't need to hear about a business plan or other stuff she just didn't need to know. These people that had been in business successfully were able to help her out. And the three of them had a great time and helped each other a lot. So think about, who could your small towns be that could help do that? Your small stores in your town, sorry, that could help do that. I really just love that idea.
And I picked up a similar story. I'm really not interrupting. This is in the notes. I did pick up a similar story from Ponca City, Oklahoma. There's a gal named Elena Jennings, who they call her the Doodle Lady because the name of her business is the Doodle Academy. And so it's like the Doodle Academy is like art experiences, classes, and it's in the downtown. But she has connected with other people in the downtown who have somewhat related businesses. And they started, and this is brilliant, and you want to steal it for everything, a text message group. So they're running a group chat to support each other in business. And so they're talking about books they're reading and things they're learning and events that they're planning to do and any other ideas they can share. And so going back to the original point of this project, which is, how do we help people get better at providing good customer service? How do we help them think differently about their marketing? Or how do we get businesses that are kind of old way more online or doing consistent business hours? Connecting with each other is going to be so much more effective than somebody that comes and lectures them. Yeah. But if they talk to businesses that are already doing it successfully, they're more likely to follow their lead than they are to, I mean, I don't know about you, but like when someone lectures me that I'm doing it wrong, my first reaction is they don't know what they're talking about. Like, I may not be the easiest person to coach on these things, and probably other business owners are as well. But if you're connecting, if you're having a glass of wine with your friends, the business owners, and they go, I've seen the biggest difference since I started my website, or I'm more online now, or man, these regular hours have really paid off for me. You're like, oh, tell me about that. Now you're interested. So hearing it from your peers is so much easier than hearing it from the expert who's lecturing you. Now, the good news is we have whipped through all the ideas, and I think we have a minute or two left. I don't know how much time do we really have, like maybe 10 minutes left of our time. And so we would love to hear if you have questions, or if you want to say you got our idea completely wrong, we want more suggestions, or you have ideas of like, oh, we've already figured out a way to do our idea, or we have this other idea, like whatever, like hit us up. We're here for you.
And you can do that in the chat room if you're more comfortable just typing something in the chat room, or if you would like to raise your hand.
I'm seeing some active discussions, which I think is good.
That is good.
Like people are talking. I also see a little kid drawing on the table in Baker, and I think that's awesome. There's our active participant right there. So if you don't have questions for us, like last call, we're going to cede back the balance of our time and let y'all use it the way that works best for you. But we want to show you one more thing before we go.
Hold on. Hold on.
Is there something coming?
Yeah. Chester said community radio station online streaming. So
tell us more about that.
Have you already done that? That would be interesting.
Unmute and hit us up.
So Chester no longer has a newspaper, and so we use our Chamber of Commerce for an email, and they're exploring the idea of doing a community radio station / it's online streaming of radio They did it during Christmas and played Christmas music and kind of announced the winners of all of the raffle drawings and things that happen. And they're wanting to do it more full time with sports and community announcements and music and whatnot.
That's great. That's great. And it doesn't even have to all be music or a real radio station at the radio station. I love that they're doing it online, like a YouTube channel or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's one where we want to gather our crowd. So it's not just the same couple of people who are responsible for it all the time. So here's another chance where maybe we can tap younger people who are natives in creating media and are used to broadcasting, doing live streams. So how can we tap their excitement and involvement? And it looks like there's kind of a mixed age group in Chester. I see y'all really small, so I'm not super sure, but that's where people are leaning in like, what? So this is definitely one where you want to get the word out and say, hey, this is a chance for everybody to do it. You don't have to take on and sign up for like a 6-month time frame if you will just do a 1-hour talk. Like, can you take an hour? Can you take a small time period? And I think that that's going to help you to get more folks involved in it. And then I think what else? Take small steps.
Well, check your schools too, because a lot of schools have the same process already. They're already doing it in the school system. They have their own online kind of radio station or video too. So just make sure you haven't missed that resource as well. I love the idea of putting a couple of people together just to talk. My woodworkers in Akron, oh my God, they could talk for hours and hours, but that's a great kind of interview process too. That might be a way to interview some of your seniors and learn more about the history of the community. We can come up with ideas for days on this topic.
And what about the town that had the history videos where they had talked to a whole bunch of older folks from the community and like gathered histories? That would be great stuff to like show over your streaming. And even if you can only play the audio, like that's great content to also put on there. Is like, we already have some existing content. Let's reuse some of that.
Yes.
Can I ask our communities a question? And you can respond in the chat. Like, any of you guys have your NFHS can you talk or have so NFHS is it live streams your school sports. Does anybody have audio hooked up to that?
We have our school superintendent, Wade Sunby, who knows the answer here.
We're going to start it here in the upcoming weeks. It might be Saturday night, but we for sure will have it for our district basketball tournament.
Yeah. So, I mean, the reason why I bring this up is Forsyth just started like having a student and a community member broadcast play-by-play through NFHS. And then they started like taking phone calls. It was like the funniest thing. They turned it into like a call-in show and people started like texting them and calling them during the live broadcast. So maybe that's a place to start if you can figure out how to do that. Is be like, hey, folks, because you do get a lot of grandmas and grandpas and people that tune into that can't physically be in the gym. So I don't know, Chester, maybe that's a place to start to be like, hey, what do you guys think about us starting an online radio show or something? So
I watch my great niece play basketball in Iowa, and I watch it through YouTube, through my TV. It's great.
Oh, and what about your churches that are doing some online broadcasting? There's some other folks that know stuff and maybe have some material or content, or they just have expertise, or maybe you can exchange ideas with them. So connect with those church folks as well.
Yeah, and Haver said they have systems at their gym and the football stadium. That's cool. And Chester does have high school kids that broadcast. Oh, this is going to be a lot of fun. You'll have to keep us informed of how it's going.
I'm thinking
love to hear your stories end. Yeah.
The interview shows and the chat shows and the call in, like that's going to be so much fun and so much more interesting than just a paper newspaper. So this is going to be like a very engaging community kind of thing. The more fun you can have with it, the better. Jennifer was dying to say something else.
There's oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so this is a very good segue. I'm not saying you guys need to, I want to throw this in because Cheyenne's going to talk about this later. Cheyenne is going to talk about the Community Heart and Soul program, which is opening up to communities across Montana. And there is a piece of that is story gathering. And it is super cool. So that gathering stories from your community, it's a huge chunk of the heart and soul. So make sure you listen to what Cheyenne has to say. It's another opportunity for our small towns.
That's awesome. And Forsyth has a question, Becky. They would like some examples, and I know you have answers to this one, on how to
about
get
an hour talk on this. Are you kidding? So the question is, more community volunteers. How do we get people to volunteer or even attend? Oh my gosh, they won't even come out and attend. We put it on and they still don't show up. So Deb actually took an interesting line on this as a chamber director, which is that if you create the event, like just if it was just Deb and the chamber key volunteers and they just put the event together and then they put it on for the community, then only so many people would turn out. But if people were involved in creating the event, a lot more people turned out. So for example, they did an evening concert. They had like a big stage in their downtown. It's an empty lot where a building burned down and they put a stage on it. And so a guy, is his name Mike?
Yes, Michael.
Michael came into her office and says, I think we should have live music downtown. And Deb says, that's a great idea. You should totally do that. And he's like, oh, but like, you should do it because I don't know anything. And so they go back and forth. But the more she let him realize he could do it, the more he started sucking other people in. He's like, well, me and my band, like we could play backup. And someone said, we can do open mic night and we can have, we can do karaoke and we can do, and then like another guy from another town, they're doing it. And he's like, he didn't even ask. He just shows up with his light system because he thinks it's a great idea. So when you let the community create it together, then they're far more likely to participate than if you put it on and just put it in front of them. So you have to not plan the whole thing out yourself. That's part one. Do not overplan. The second thing is don't let anybody yell at people for cutting the pickles wrong.
Yeah. Because
that happens. And do you suppose that young woman who cut the pickles wrong ever volunteered again? No, she did not. She did not. I don't think she changed churches, but I think she thought about it. So, I mean, you really have to make sure that you're being welcoming to people who are trying to volunteer and make sure that you're not making them do things the way you've always done them because that's the way you've done them, but you're allowing them to create things in their own way and to bring their own experience and expression to it.
Becky, we had an event, a huge event that was going to be 12 hours long coming from the state. I was WHO TV station. Celebrating the Iowa State football game, and they would go to small towns every day of the week. And we were chosen. There was no way as a chamber director I was going to figure out how to do 12 hours worth of entertainment. There just wasn't. That was crazy. We were able to come up with about half of it, and then we just started asking people, what do you want to do? I was in the Casey's getting pizza, and I was talking to the guy working there, and he's like, we should have a chili cook-off. I'm like, that's a great idea. You should be in charge of that. And he thought about it. He said, well, could I? I'm like, absolutely. And we ended up having so many community people get together and do the coolest things. I never would have heard about human foosball if we hadn't done that. A local church group of students said, we'll put together the human foosball. We want to do that. And I said, okay, you can go right over there. I had no idea what they were talking about, but it was one of the most attended events because everybody wanted to go see adults playing human foosball. It was awesome. So get your community involved. And when you ask locals to be part of something, you do know they're going to tell their family and their friends, you have to come because we're having this Fred Flintstone race. And I really want you to come and cheer me on. It's amazing. More people come just to see what their friends are doing. And that's a great event.
And so a key part of this is letting people create it together and not telling people what's going to happen, but inviting people to be part of what's happening. And so everybody needs a small but meaningful role, or they have less reason to turn out. So like all of you that have come tonight to sit at your community and go and to talk about what the future of your community is, you wouldn't be here if this was just a lecture and you didn't have a chance to talk to each other and make something happen. You're here because you get to make a difference. And that's the key to finding more people to become volunteers. And I have to give a big shout out to Browning, who is continuing their auction and is now up to 24.
Yay, Browning. Yay, Browning. And you know what? And talk to everybody. The older woman that knows how to run a phone chain but can't get out of the house, call her and ask her, we got this event coming up in 2 weeks, the local church dinner. Can you call your phone chain and let them know? People want to help, but you have to ask sometimes. Ask people to help and then let them. Okay,
I'll do one more thing on finding volunteers, and you have to watch how this works, because it's kind of an explanation of why we can't find very many people to help. And so we're going to picture a chart that looks like this. So like this way on the chart is the amount of motivation it takes. And then like this way on the chart is like how many people there are. So there's more people this way and more motivation this way. So if we actually charted how many people are on the high end of the motivation, there's only a couple. So the curve is going to drop off. So there's a lot of people with a little tiny bit of motivation. I could probably find this chart.
Yeah, you've got the chart.
I do have the chart. The question is, can I find it right quick? So I shouldn't look for the chart. I should just tell the story. So we've been looking for people with this much motivation. We're looking for people with the most motivation ever, instead of looking for the people that have little tiny motivation. There's so many more people with tiny motivation than there are with huge motivation. And so if the question is, how can we keep the downtown sidewalks looking nice? You can do this one of two ways. The old way, the way that takes a ton of motivation, cleanup day. We need everybody to turn out on Saturday for cleanup day. We're going to be downtown for 4 hours on Saturday. It's going to be on the hottest day of the year, because that's always when we hold cleanup day. And so this takes a lot of motivation to get involved in that. Plus the motivation, somebody needed even more motivation to organize the thing. And if we say instead, could everybody just sweep your own sidewalk on Wednesday afternoon? That, like, please sweep your own sidewalk if you can. And, maybe do the empty building next to you. Now we need like this, how much motivation does it take to clean your sidewalk? Like this much. So instead of asking people to do the parts that take this much motivation, look for a lot more people who can do this much. And so divide that task out so lots more people can be involved. Think about the honey-do list or the generosity list. If instead of asking one person to do it all and take a big lead on it, can we get a lot of folks to do a little tiny piece of it? So that is the short version of how do we find more volunteers.
Make the steps smaller. Yeah.
All right. So,
and I think we're about out of our time.
I think we are.
Does anybody have a last minute question? And Browning, can we get an update before we go?
Browning's going to go out on the sidewalk, call somebody to come over. Okay. Last call, 10-987-6543. Browning says, they probably went and found somebody. I'm not kidding. Okay. So we do have one last thing I'm going to show you, which is just a little bit about us. If you were wanting to hear, if this was so great that you're like, oh my gosh, I need more Becky and Deb, then this is who we are. And these are the things that we do. So we have videos and webinars, many of which are recorded and ready for you. And quite a few are actually free. And then there are $9 ones. So they're very affordable, but they're based on issues that you may have faced in your community. Let's see, finding volunteers is one, cheap downtown placemaking is another. So there's fun topics like that address issues we know you have. We do have a membership, so you can get all our videos. We have special toolkits. We offer special things. Deb and I have each written a book in the past couple of years, so we're both excited about our books. We have free newsletters. It's all at SaveYour.Town. Like I could read all of it, but like that's enough. So if you want to keep up with us, I do recommend you get our free newsletters at SaveYour.Town. And I will say, it will never go back to the way it used to be. We have to start from here and go forward. And we do that one small step at a time. You don't have to know all the answers as long as you can stay open to new ideas. And you're the people who are definitely going to kick off that movement that people are going to get behind in your community. And that's what's going to add up to change the shape of the communities that you belong to. And thank you so much for letting us be part of it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much to Becky and Deb from SaveYour.Town. Again, if you want, after hearing from these ladies and you want to learn more, please reach out to them, utilize their services, their resources. They're fantastic about sometimes we overcomplicate our own projects and we just need to break it down into small steps and just do the next thing and see what happens and see where it goes. So we very much appreciate them coming and joining us tonight with our Reimagining Rural program and being a resource for us and for you guys as well. So thank you, you guys. We are going to transition, excuse me, into our conversations. So you should here in a second see my screen. So again, it just shows our ground rules for the conversations. So again, be actively engaged, be open to new ideas, be inquisitive, be an active learner, be a gracious neighbor. Only one person talks or shares at a time. If you're an oversharer, that's kind of me. Try being silent. If you're typically somebody who does not share, try be bold and speak up. There's always Elmo. So if you get stuck on something, just, somebody shout it out. Enough. We've got to move on. Use I statements and also use a parking lot. So if you get stuck on something and you really are not making forward momentum and you need to circle back to it, it's okay. Put it on a sheet of paper, put it on the wall somewhere and just be like, you know what? We're going to put this on the parking lot and we'll try to come back to it. So these are your group ground rules. Now for the next until 7:50, you guys have time to have a local conversation. We gave your community coordinator folks some guiding questions. Feel free to use those or not. It's totally up to you. And if you get stuck or you have questions, you can unmute and ask us or throw them in the chat and maybe we can help you guys process too. So, but the next 50 minutes really is for you guys to kind of process what's next and how do we whittle down these ideas, only because you've got a grant application coming up and you have an opportunity for funding. So you got to figure out what idea you're going to apply for the funding, or a couple ideas, or maybe all of them will fit into the funding. It's up to you. But that's kind of what you're tasked with now. So I will stop talking and we'll just pause the video and let you guys start having conversations. So again, thank you, Becky and Deb, for joining us. Bring everybody. Oh, all right, everybody. We're gonna bring y'all back to order, I guess. So you can wrap up your community discussions. Please put in the chat box if you have a project idea in mind, or if you have additional questions, what your conversation was about, anything like that. I see some of the communities are still kind of sharing. So I am going to, so please let us know in the chat box, because that's like the only way we get to find out what's going on in your communities. Before we turn it over to Cheyenne, just a reminder for the coordinators, we're going to have the final debrief is on Monday. at noon. So if you can join us on Monday at noon, we would love to hear from you. And again, please, the sign-ins, please, when you see that survey evaluation hit your inbox, please fill it out and submit it so that we can report the data back to MCF and to the Wells Fargo Foundation. So, oh my God, exciting news in Hardin. They're about to vote on their projects. It's between Honeydew 22 and an artisan market. Oh my gosh. All right. Okay, you Hardin, do your thing. I'm going to turn it over to Cheyenne. She is going to tell us about the grants and some other opportunities coming up.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Jennifer. And truly, thank you to everybody who has participated in this series. It's one of my favorite things in the whole world. And I love, love, love all the ideas that come out of this. So to kind of build on some of that momentum, I want to let you know about 3 opportunities that are going to be coming your way. So first is the Reimagining Rural Seed Grants. Those, I just put that link in the chat. That application is now open, but wait the 8 minutes so that we can get through this. But so that project grant is up to $2,000. Community coordinators, I had sent you kind of a rundown of the last few years, but certainly if you have questions, please let me know. Those are really designed though for ready to go projects. It's something that we're practical about. That's something that's a short-term implementation. It's just a perfect fit for that. So those seed grants are really designed to get you to that next step, and all that information is available on the MCF website. I just popped that link into the chat. But also, like I say, wait your 8 minutes until 8 o'clock, but there's no rush on that. It's open through the end of March. So please be thoughtful, think about, kind of where you're headed with your community. And I'm so excited to see what's in those applications. It's amazing what everybody comes up with every year. The second thing I want to talk about is I want to plant the seed for the Next Step grant. We've talked about that a little bit. And this opportunity is only possible through some generous funding from the Wells Fargo Foundation, and MCF is the intermediary, excuse me. That application will not open until July 1st. So I know that seems really far away, but I still want you to start thinking of it. So those Next Step grants are going to be between $7,500 and $10,000. And those are only available to communities who've participated in Reimagining Rural. This is the thing. This is what we've all been doing the work for. So if you have done Reimagining Rural and you have received a seed grant, you are eligible for those Next Step grants. If you have questions about that, please let me know. But once again, don't panic. This won't open until July, and I will have plenty of information out there in the world before it happens. But that funding really focuses on 4 areas. The first is capacity building and leadership development. The second is business space rehabilitation. So that's those facade improvements, making our towns more business friendly. The third is placemaking and beautification. And the fourth, which I think is pretty cool, is digital marketing and branding. So I feel like in our communities, we can all use those things. So I know that feels a long time away, but just be thinking about those grants. And once again, there will be lots of information available before that opens on July 1st. And then finally, I want to talk about Community Heart and Soul. So Community Heart and Soul is such an incredible program, and we have some of the coolest coaches that there are. So your coaches for Montana are Jennifer Anderson, Tara Mastel, Mandy Reed, who's also with MSU Extension, and then Camden Graves from MCF, and then I will be completing the training. So by the time that we're ready to do this, I'll be trained also. So we are so excited. The last time that Community Heart and Soul opened up in Montana was in 2024. And we're going to invite communities to do another cohort. So there will be an interest webinar on March 3rd at noon. I'm going to put that information into the chat also. And this website, this will give you a better grasp of what Heart and Soul is if you've never heard of it. But that's even more reason to join that webinar with us next week. And so we will be looking for some communities who are just interested in finding out more. So Community Heart and Soul is a nationally recognized community development model, and they help towns identify really what matters most to them. And the coolest thing is they teach us, we work with you one-on-one in your communities as coaches, and it really does build up your community so much. It builds stronger leadership, civic participation, and it really gives you a sense of reflecting the heart and soul of your community. So I hope that that kind of piques your interest a little bit, because I love Heart and Soul. I think that all the work that they do is really cool. And so please check out that link that I put in the chat and sign up for the webinar. That sign up is on that same landing page. So sign up for the webinar and then join us on March 3rd at noon to learn more. Jennifer, did I miss anything? Did I forget the good stuff?
I don't think so. Thanks, Cheyenne.
Okay, cool. So truly though, thank you all so much. And I love seeing these friendly faces. I like seeing Wade Sunby's face. And all the way over in Cut Bank, he's a Glasgow guy. And but truly though, if you guys have questions, or if there's something that you're like, I don't know if this is a good fit, let me know. I'm going to put my email back in. Also, all of my contact information in the whole world is on the MCF website. But feel free, the phone number that's on there is my cell phone. You can always call or text me. But I'm just really, really incredibly grateful for the work that you all do in making your communities great. So thank you.
Thanks, Cheyenne. Okay, so just looking at the chat box here and seeing what comments that we have. So again, Seed Grants is live. The next step grants will come out in July. And if you heard Cheyenne, okay, so part of this is to be eligible for the next step grant, you have to have received a seed grant. So if you're new this year and you're like, whoa, wait a second, what about us? So Cheyenne, correct me if I'm wrong. If they get a seed grant this go around, you are eligible for the
absolutely Okay. And that's kind of why I waited to roll that next step grant out until July. So then if you're a community that's never received a seed grant before, please apply. I want you to, because that'll give you a little time to think about some projects, think about what direction you're headed, and then maybe be able to apply for those next step funds to really, really dig down a little bit.
Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, so does anybody have any questions, comments before we close out the session tonight? So as we're waiting, the awkward pause here. Just also please remember, communities, as you're sorting through this, don't be upset if you get to the end of tonight and you're like, we don't know what to do. That has happened many times before. So you can try a number of things. You can follow what the folks said, or what the lady said from SaveYour.Town. Also, too, we have opportunities to help you with some coaching. So if you hit a roadblock and you're like, man, we just don't know what to do, please feel free to reach out to us. And we can either Zoom in or do something and provide some support that way too. Because we want to do everything that we can do to ensure that you all are successful in creating some positive momentum in your town. So with that, I don't see any additional questions. So I think we'll go ahead. It's 8 o'clock. We'll go ahead and stay on for a few more minutes. I mean, we'll stop, say goodbye, but we'll stay on for a few more minutes in case folks do have questions. You guys, y'all are free to keep on keeping on conversing after we shut the Zoom down. So thanks again for joining us. We really appreciate it. And we're so excited to see you all here and to see the great stuff that comes from your communities. So that's it. Thanks, everybody.